Life skills can be hard to come by, and in my renewed pursuit for self-improvement, I've turned to games to see if they can teach me the skills I need to better myself. So I decided to start with one of life's most important skills, relationships. Now this might make you wonder why I chose HuniePop as my first game to look at, but that actually leads us straight into our first primary skill that we need in order to venture into the open world of life. That's right, the primary focus of this video is mindset. That's because having the right mindset is key to any quest in life. At this point, we have a goal, be in a relationship. But before we begin our quest, we need to look at our personal inventories to see if we have what we need to proceed forward. HuniePop equips us with Kiyu, who acts as our guide but also kind of represents our more intrusive thoughts, frequently commenting purely on looks, which leads us to the first supporting skill that we need in order to have a good mindset. One of the things we need to remember is to have self-respect. Honestly, it's a skill that I've really struggled with myself. My first encounter with Lola was a great way to exercise this skill. This is because a key part of self-respect is not only valuing yourself and your time, but also having the ability to establish boundaries. Lola's interaction with Nikki in the cafe really put her in my bad books. I know that I want a partner that's empathetic, and while frustration does affect us all, we should always try our best to treat people well and own it when we mess up. When Nikki said she was off the clock, Lola's response was a sense of entitlement that then had to be reinforced in order to get her romantic favor. Behaving in this manner is a barrier that I simply wouldn't cross. Now don't get me wrong, I understand the need of having commonality between companions, but the key to a strong party is the same as forming a strong relationship. We should actively look for people with complementary skills, keeping in mind that this can come without the expectation of having to agree with everything. In the long run, this will make us a stronger unit, especially in the late game. But a key part of this balancing act is actually giving people a chance. And when I talked to Nikki at the club, she was not in the best of moods. She simply didn't want to be there, and our interaction wasn't the best. While I think we handled the rejection pretty well, it serves as a reminder not to prejudge people and allow someone to show their own merits. While Nikki does come back to us, it's also important to be able to take no as an answer. And while circumstances can change, we need to try our best to read the room and not be creepy or overbearing. But our interaction with Nikki does lead us to our next supporting skill. Interests are a key factor to what drives us and are a window into what drives others. Nikki and I have similar interests. We like games, we don't go out often, and we're both not really great with other people. But ultimately, I wouldn't know any of this if I hadn't have shown interest in Nikki herself. We do this simply by talking and asking questions. Actually being interested in people, and especially with Nikki, for me, can help us figure out why they are the way they are. This isn't an effort to find the easiest way into their pants, but partially self-diagnosis. We really need to reflect when we interact with people, especially when we're trying to bring out their best selves, and perhaps it'll help us find our own best self. Overall, this game is really good at encouraging interest of the ladies. Finding out about them and their personalities is really fun, and while it does seem to encourage marrying the ladies in order to gain their favor, it isn't make or break, which favors our desired personality build, which I think is a pretty solid side quest. Now, I wound up spending a lot of time with Nikki, but much like real life, there are a lot of characters and personality types to explore. Yet, it wasn't until Belly where I realized the skill I had been using the entire time. Belly is stunning, and she simply doesn't see it. Kiyu gives us the advice to say something, anything to her, and it's this willingness to put ourselves out there and push our own boundaries a little that'll see us through most of this quest. Someone recently told me that we have a surprising amount of control over our own happiness. And while others likely have said similar or the same thing, it wasn't until them where it really clicked for me. Now, I'm not going to be one of those people that tells you to fake it till you make it. In fact, I generally don't think that's a healthy mindset. But I would suggest taking a look at yourself and acknowledging the things that you bring to the table. In our brief interaction, we complimented Belly, and she became more confident with herself. If you, like myself, can't acknowledge your own strengths, we at least need to be able to acknowledge that we have a problem, and have the courage to seek help as needed. Confidence primarily is rooted in how we view ourselves, and if we can't dig ourselves out of our mental hole, we need to find someone who's willing to lower the ladder that we need. Now, I understand that allowing ourselves to be vulnerable can be tough, but Belly took a risk on us, and we wound up going on our first successful date of the game. Now, keep in mind, a lot of people offering you a ladder aren't always looking out for your best interests. So if we find ourselves trying to help others, we should always do our best to not take advantage of this vulnerability, which leads us into the last supporting skill of the mindset skill tree. Audrey Belrose is an asshole. She treats people poorly and forces people way beyond their boundaries and comfort levels. We have had the opportunity to exploit many of the girls in similar ways, exploiting their vulnerabilities and behaviors. While there is no quick lay in this game, if you're looking for anything more than a soulless plotline in life, then we need to be looking to make authentic connections. This means treating people how you would want to be treated and building a solid, empathetic build that takes no as a no and does their best not to be creepy. This means controlled and measured approaches to the situation, as well as being realistic about where you are in your personality and attractiveness traits. Now, I know this is going to be a tough journey, but it is all about mindset. Being realistic is tough, but it's something we have control over. And like I said, if you need help, get some. And once we've developed ourselves, we actually need to go out and put our skills into practice. But we'll explore this part more when we unlock our next skill and hopefully earn our first achievement. But yeah, until then, I've genuinely had a lot of fun playing HuniePop, and while it doesn't always give you the best messages, hopefully I'm giving you the right mindset you need to continue this quest. But be safe out there, and if you enjoyed this video, you'll probably like some of my other stuff, so I'd really appreciate a comment and a subscription. But even if you didn't enjoy it, this has been Rob the Slob, and I'll see you in the virtual commute.